All right. Good morning, everyone. The date is January 11th, 2022, excuse me. This is a regular meeting of the Kings County Board of Supervisors. Due to issues around the pandemic, the board will be using WebEx teleconferencing format for today's meeting and participating on the World Wide Web. We would like to make, if you would like to make public comment through the teleconferencing format, please use the raise your hand feature. Those interested in commenting, members of the audience who filled out speakers card will be taken in the order they're received by the clerk, and online speakers will be taken in the order they appear in the WebEx program, showing their hands up. So, and all voting will be verbal or voice vote today so that everyone can know how everyone's voted. So with that, Madam Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Joe Neves.
Here.
Richard Valley.
Here.
Doug Verboon.
Here.
Craig Peterson.
Here.
Richard Fagundes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. If everyone will please rise now as we invite Pastor Chad Fagundes to deliver the invocation this morning and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, Chad.
Good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Good. Would you guys bow your heads and pray with me? And so, Father, we pause this morning because we just recognize the need for you. We recognize the need for your intervention in our county. And God, we just look to you this morning for divine wisdom, discernment. I pray, God, that as things are being decided today and for the future of our county, God, I pray that you would give us just a clear view, a clear insight on what steps to take. I pray, God, for the board. I pray that this morning that their minds would be clear, that everything that they're going through, God, that you would give them a sense of grace. I thank you, God, that for everyone in this conference call, I pray today would be a day where we recognize your presence in our lives, God, that we make the decisions to grow closer to you. And I thank you once again, God, just for the breath in my lungs this morning. We pray, God, that you continue to give clarity and health to every single person that is joining us this morning. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Chad. Now, as we honor America by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. Pledge of Allegiance.
The flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is unscheduled appearances. Any person may directly address the board at this time on any item on the agenda or any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. Madam Clerk, do you have a record of anyone wishing to address the board under unscheduled?
Stacy Claycamp, if you want to go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you for that beautiful prayer. Wow, that was a wonderful way to start this morning. Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Stacy Neves Claycamp, and my son Nash is 23 years old and has schizophrenia. I am here today to share with you something that I feel may be of great benefit to our community. First, here's a little background about how I've made my way here today. My children came into this world beautiful, happy, healthy, smart, active, and loved just as all of our children. However, by the age of 16, my son showed his first signs of psychiatric concerns. I took him straight to the best doctors at Stanford to figure out how I could help. Little did I know at that time what challenges lie ahead for him and for our family. By the age of 19, Nash experienced his first bout of psychosis, which is a break from reality. That resulted in the first of many hospitalizations over the next couple of years. Upon his release from these hospitals, Nash would take his medication for a couple of months, then he'd quit his medicine, he'd return to his psychotic state, and end up back in the hospital again. These cycles included many calls to the police, mental health agencies, sleepless nights, and countless prayers. He often ended up in minor trouble with the law and at times became homeless on our streets. He was eventually conserved by our county and lived in a mental health treatment center for a year. Though it was not easy on him, There, he experienced steady treatment, which resulted in wellness for the first time since his illness. Upon his discharge in June of this last year, Nash came home well and ready to begin life again. He reconnected with family, had a part-time job, and started his first semester of college. We were so thankful for the second chance he had been given. However, as many people do with mental illness, Nash stopped treatment again. We noticed the changes and began to encourage him to take his medication, but by the middle of December, our worst fears had been realized. He had fallen back into psychosis and the cycle began again. In my many attempts to save Nash's life, I've often thought that if there was a way to make him stay in treatment, we could break this cycle. I remembered reading about Laura's Law, which provides assisted outpatient treatment to our most severe mentally ill community members. Upon recently contacting Kings County Behavioral Health, I was pleasantly surprised to learn that our county is in the works of adopting and implementing this law. I am hopeful that mandatory outpatient treatment be available in our county soon, as it is in most counties of California and states. I want you to know, as Nash's mom, I am in full support. I believe it could greatly reduce hospitalizations, calls to the police, involvement in the judicial system, and homelessness in this county. I encourage you to learn more about Laura's Law and its benefits. Thank you for your service, time, and support.
Thank you.
And then Dr. Lisa Lewis, Behavioral Health.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Lisa Lewis, Director of Kings County Behavioral Health. First, I'd like to really thank Stacy for her words. It's so important that we hear from family members, and families are so crucial on the road to recovery, especially with severe mental illness, which often takes many years, sometimes decades of cycling before we're able to reach a stability. And so I'm very appreciative whenever family members will share. I want to provide a little bit of context and background regarding Laura's Law. AB 1976 was chartered into law effective July 1st, 2021. This amended the current legislation associated with outpatient treatment, sometimes referred to as AOT or Laura's Law. And this program permits court-ordered treatment services for persons with mental illness who meet specific criteria. So this is through the civil courts. And this is basically a partnership with a civil court judge who basically joins our treatment team. As a result of AB 1976, all California counties were required to decide to offer AOT or to opt out. Kings County Behavioral Health is one of the 30 counties in California who decided to opt in. The department planned to implement Laura's Law as a part of our system development, which has been underway for the last 4 years. And so last July, the department developed an implementation plan, which includes training and education programs, which we are doing in consultation with the Department of Healthcare Services. The department will begin assisted outpatient treatment in July of this year, and we look forward to providing your board with more information as we get closer to implementation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, is there anything we need to do on this, Dr. Lewis? Do we need to have you bring it back and we can bring it back to the?
There was no requirement of the board if we opted in. If we opted out, we needed to come to the board and ask basically for your permission or your opinion about that. Since we opted in, it didn't require anything of the board, but like other programs that we're developing, we'll definitely bring it before your board so you'll know all about it.
No, thank you very much. Appreciate that. And I want to thank Ms. Neves or Ms. Claycap for her sharing her story. It makes it personal when you hear how it affects families in the community. So
Very much so. And we have a very strong family support group here. And I really want to recommend them to anybody listening who needs the support of other family members. There's nothing more valuable than that. So.
Or board members want to use it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of us need some help.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I could follow up, Mr. Chairman, it's a really challenging scenario. It's one thing to have a parent that follows and works hard. But the challenge that we face, that Stacy has faced, that many family members have faced is unacceptable. You have the scenario of police officers that in today's world have, been focused on being defunded. They're now can be charged and personally liable for acting on behalf of mentally ill folks. And, COVID has taken, the lion's share of, I think, the headlines, but a close second is mental health issues. And if you don't have an advocate like Stacy, you can imagine how difficult it is. And I want to thank Lisa Lewis, our director, for, really working hard to improve the situation that we have and the challenges that we face with mental illness in this community. It's a tough challenge. The stigmas associated with this disease just makes it almost impossible to get people to move on this, and then to take someone's freedom is, again, if you don't have an advocate, it's nearly impossible to get healthy. So with that, I support this and hope we get it done soon.
Good, thank you.
And Henny Ring, Human Resources.
Good morning.
Morning, Chairman, members of the board. I just wanted to do a really quick introduction of the new staff that we have in Human Resources. Some of them have been here for just a little bit, but we have Michelle Campbell. I'll do the order that we acquired them. Michelle Campbell, who is our personnel assistant up front. We have our senior personnel technician, Sarah Poots, who's transferred over as well. And then we have our newest personnel technician, who is Danielle Leap. Like to say we stole them fair and square. But they have now officially transferred over and are working in our office, and we're thrilled, and HR is growing and here to support the rest of the county. So just wanted to do a really quick introduction on that.
No, appreciate that. Thank you and welcome. Yeah, that's you've kind of cleaned that up a little bit, because I used to call it poaching when you take somebody away from another department.
I call
So
it stealing fair and square.
yeah, so that probably cleans that statement up pretty well.
Anyway, I just wanted to take a few minutes. So thank you for your time.
No, good luck. Good luck to all of you. Thank you.
Barbara Castle, if you'd like to go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Barbara Castle. I live here in Hanford, and I am, as you can tell, at my house. I wanted to ask that the extension for the virtual meetings be pulled from the consent calendar, and that the supervisors add the requirement that supervisors disclose their location when they're attending virtually. I understand it used to be required. Don't know when and why that might have been changed. But I think it would be appropriate if we knew where everybody was calling from. Thank you.
And that's all we have.
That's all they are. Is there anyone in the chambers that would like to address the board under unscheduled at this time? Seeing no one come forward, we'll move on to the next item, which is a reporting out of the closed session of held on January 4th. And Mr. Hill, would you like to report out on that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your board took no reportable action on January 4th.
Good, thank you. The next item is approval of the minutes from the January 4th meeting, and have members had an opportunity to review the minutes?
I'll move as presented.
Second.
Moved by Verboen, seconded by Peterson. Any other discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboen.
Yes.
Craig Peterson.
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes. Item stands approved, 5 in favor. The next item on the agenda is a consent calendar. And all items under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be acted by one motion. The requesting new board member, any item may be pulled and made part of the regular agenda. County Council, would you like to address the AB 361?
Yes, I would. It's my understanding and my opinion that a member of the public can also request a matter be pulled from the consent calendar. That given that we have that today, then I would recommend that you move forward with the consent calendar absent the AB 361 item.
Duly noted. Thank you very much.
So if there's no question or comments, I'll move as recommended.
Second. Moved by Verboen, seconded by Fagundes. Additional discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley,
Aye.
Doug Verboen,
Yes.
Craig Peterson.
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes. Let the record show that item stands approved, 5 in favor. Now that we've pulled item B, the findings required for AB 361.
Yes, I'll handle that item then. Yes, as you're all aware, we are meeting with the option of teleconference under special rules and revisions to the law that allow that to happen. We began meeting under AB 361 on, I believe it was October 5th was our first meeting under AB 361. We were able to meet, but in order to continue meeting under AB 361, the board has to make certain findings every 30 days that certain conditions still exist, including that the state of emergency continues to directly impact the ability of the members to meet safely in person, or state or local officials continue to impose or recommend measures to promote social distancing. There is currently a recommendation by the Kings County Public Health Officer recommending social distancing and teleconference meetings. And based upon this, the board has the factual basis in order to make such findings. So it's for your consideration whether or not to continue meeting under AB 361 and whether or not you want to make these findings.
Thank you, Diane. You want to address the point of participating in a meeting? Because I think the Brown Act before requires you to be in a public place and have the agenda posted and everything else. And AB 361 changed that?
Yes, under AB 361, there is no requirement for that. And so that's not necessary. If the board wants to self-impose that, then they may, but it's not required.
Good, thank you. Additional questions or comments?
If there's no question or comment,
Chair.
it's presented.
Supervisor Valley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, so just on the, obviously, I think continuing with virtual is the right thing to do right now as we look up and down the state. You know, there's counties, some counties already ordered all virtual, not just their board of supervisors, but the city councils, school boards, everything in their county virtual right now with this Omicron surge that's taken place right now. And so I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue, just from what we've heard, is just the seems like there's a request for some transparency on our locations, as council pointed out, and you, sir, too, as well, that, you know, you used to have to be in a public place. I don't think we need to go that far right now. I think when we do this, we're in our homes. Right now, I'm on day 7 of my COVID infection. And so it's not right for me to be sitting up there with you right now on the dais. I was there in person last Tuesday and became positive on Thursday morning with symptoms on Wednesday. So, you know, I think this was put in place for the right reason when it hit. I don't see anything wrong with, you know, saying where we're at. I'm at 1609 Norville Avenue in Corcoran in my district here at home. If the board is willing to tweak this, I believe we have the ability to do that. Even right now, Mr. Chair, not to even go as far as even alerting the clerk, you know, by Thursday or Friday, so she could put on the agenda, which is, as you both pointed out, that would have normally happened, right? When this goes away, if I know I'm going to broadcast from somewhere else other than the dais, I probably have to let the clerk know well in advance so she could post it on the agenda as well. So I think with COVID, we do need to have a little bit more leeway on that because you never know when it's going to pop up. That being said, I mean, maybe we just have a discussion on tweaking this here. And at least when we come to the board and the clerk calls for the roll, you know, we can let the public know where we're broadcasting from. And so I don't know if the I didn't hear all the way if Super Verboen was actually making a motion, but if he did, if he'd take that as a friendly amendment to the motion, and we can clean up that language. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good. Thank you for your comments. Additional questions or comments? There's a motion on the floor to accept the resolution as presented.
If I could just clarify, Supervisor Valley requested or suggested a friendly amendment. I think that if we can address that request for a friendly amendment, it would be Supervisor Verboen that would that would say yay or nay to amend his initial motion.
I made a motion based on what presented to me. I'm not sure what he was trying to say on his explanation. I mean, we all disclose where we're at most of the time. I mean, what does he want me to do again?
Thank you, thanks, Supervisor Verboen. Just very simply, I get the amendment would be that we pass this as is, but just to tighten it up by when the chairman calls the clerk to call for the roll, that if we are broadcasting from another location, that we let the public know where we're at on that time during the roll call for transparency to the public. Thank you, Supervisor.
So if I may state it, the way I understand the request for amendment or the friendly amendment is that proceed with making the findings today, but add a condition that the board members report to the clerk of the board prior to the meeting where they will be broadcasting from if they are not going to appear in person. Is that a summary of your
Yep.
amendment?
That's a lot cleaner. Thank you, Council.
Maker of the motion, did you want to amend or?
Seems like a whatever. I don't care. I mean, most of the time I'm on a recording with a Zoom meeting, everybody tells everybody where they're from. So I don't know why you make it mandatory. I'll leave my motion presented as is.
Is there a second? Chair will exercise his prerogative and second that motion. Again, this is an Assembly Bill 361, and to start putting local control on that, I'm just not real comfortable.
Me neither.
I don't really like the way the state did that whole AB 361 anyway.
So let me explain on my side of it. So here I am, a public official. I live out in the country. We got people out there that want to take away our public safety. I don't want people to know that I'm not at home. So I think it's an invasion of my personal privacy. I don't feel well. I want a remote Zoom call from wherever I'm at. I should be able to do so without the public knowing that I'm not at home. And I think it takes away my personal privacy rights. So therefore, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, and if it was a little more broad, county, whatever, but yeah, once you start down that road, you'll never get to the.
Yeah, I don't go on public social media and post that I'm gone until after I'm home. I don't think people need to be in my driveway or come to my house. I've had numerous calls to the local sheriff's department when I've been away, and I don't like people know I'm not home. Yeah, I live out in the country, and it's not safe for the rest of my family. So therefore, I'm not going to do it.
All right. The item's been moved by Verboen, seconded by Neves. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboen.
Yes.
Craig Peterson.
I'll abstain.
And Richard Fagundes.
Yes. Let the record show 4 in favor, 1 abstentions. Very good. Thank you very much. Moving to regular agenda items. The first item comes from the fire department regarding the purchase of a Lincoln welder, and presenting the item this morning, Josh Cunningham. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Josh Cunningham, Kings County Fire Department Assistant Fire Chief. The department is requesting to purchase one Lincoln Ranger 225 welder for the dozer tender. And we went out to bid, and the low bid went to Furtado Welding out of Riverdale. This welder is going to be a much needed added addition to the dozer program. It gives the employees, the heavy fire equipment operators, the ability to weld and make minor repairs and modifications to the dozer. This welder would be mounted to the dozer tender, So wherever the dozer's at, the welder will be with them. It also saved the county some money, not having to get an on-call welder to come out and make the minor repairs. The purchase amount is $5,169.45, which puts it right into the capital asset. That's why we have to come before you today. We are requesting to spend the money out of the fire fund budget number 241000, capital asset fund account 94000. So today, before you, I'm asking for your recommendation to approve the purchase of one Lincoln Ranger 225 welder and to authorize the purchasing manager to sign the purchase order. If there's any questions, I can answer that.
If there are no questions, I move for approval. On second, Verboen.
Moved by Fagundes, seconded by Verboen. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboen.
Yes.
Craig Peterson.
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes. The item stands approved, 5 in favor. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Stay out of the fog. Next item comes from Public Works regarding Subdivision Improvement Act. And Michael.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of your board. Mitchell Cabrera, Chief Engineer with the Public Works Department. Here before your board this morning for a couple of agreements for your approval and consideration. The first item is in regards to the Armona Track 756, Phase 6 and 7 Subdivision Improvement Agreement. In May of 2003, the Kings County Advisory Agency approved the track map for 756. To this date, phases 1 through 5 have been completed by your board approving and signing the subdivision improvement agreement. The developer, Aspire Homes California Incorporated, will be able to begin construction on phases 6 and 7, adding around 96 additional lots and homes in the community of Armona. The department has worked with the developer, and the cost for these improvements will be recouped through various fees that the developer will pay for their plan review and inspections during construction. It's Public Works Department's recommendation that your board consider approving and authorize your chairman to sign the agreement. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Good, thank you. Questions, comments? Sure.
No, it's good news. More affordable housing in the county. It's much needed. So with that, move for adoption.
I'll second, Verboen.
Peterson, the items have been moved by Peterson, seconded by Verboen. Additional discussion? See no one come forward. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboen.
Yes.
Craig Peterson.
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Record show that item stands approved, 5 in favor. Would you like to continue and talk about the DKJ Architects project?
Yes, so that item is our third item on here.
Oh, I missed one, huh?
Yeah.
Yep. Take up the consultant services agreement with Peters.
Okay, so the second item before your board is a request to consider and authorize the Public Works Director to sign a consultant service agreements with Peters Engineering Group. This will be for the design of the complete reconstruction for the Avenel Cutoff roadway from State Route 198 up into the county limit at the California Aqueduct. County staff hired a geotechnical investigation engineer to go out and do a subsurface report. The findings were that there were more deficiencies under the roadway that our typical maintenance wouldn't be able to keep up. It wouldn't be feasible to continue our maintenance without doing a major roadway reconstruction. County staff, through the RFP selection process, has procured Peters Engineering Group based off of their qualifications and the quality of their proposal to do the work. The plan is to have the complete engineering design, plan, specification, and estimate package completed, and then phase out construction of the roadway in various years, just due to the size and the construction amount of that project, that size. The estimated cost for the consultant service agreement is $1.6 million in order to complete the complete plan, specifications, and estimate package for this project. The request is to approve the agreement and authorize the Public Works Director to sign. If you have any questions?
Question, Mr. Chairman?
Good, thank you. Supervisor Valley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. In the roadway improvement package is by chance, is there any kind of improved lighting for the foggy mornings and the foggy night?
At this time, the improved lighting wasn't part of the original scope. The original scope is the complete roadway reconstruction using cement as a subgrade, sub-base treatment, rumble strips in the center line and the edge, and widened shoulders. If there is areas where the lighting needs to be looked at for additional safety measures, we can discuss that with the engineer once they're on board to see what that additional cost would be for some type of study.
Thank you. Good work on those rumble strips. I know we've all heard a call for that. I believe that's going to help. And I don't mean lighting like as far as along the road path. I mean where there might be any kind of T section or intersection where there'd be a flashing light for the fog, just pointing out that, hey, you're coming up to this T section or an intersection along that route, if any. But thank you. I heard what you said, and I know that that's a question you would have to get information on later once you get going with the consultant. So I'll leave it there with you. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good, thank you. Peterson, you have a question or comment?
Yes, just a couple questions. I mean, obviously, 2 million is half of the annual budget. Looking out forward, you have phased applications for looks like maybe 3 or 4 years, 3.5 million of the total 4 million of funding that we might get through SB1. I'm just curious how you intend to phase that. Is that going to take every other project out of the loop for the next 5 years?
That would be the worst case. So the plan is to have the designs complete for the whole roadway section. And then depending on the first project, once we go out to construction, that would kind of dictate how the next phase would go. If the next phase can be longer, cover more mileage, then the phasing would be maybe 4 phases at the max. If construction comes in high due to the amount of work going on, then it may be 5 or 6 phases, and then that would push out any other SB1 projects in the future.
Yeah. Well, you can just imagine what the cost or the price of oil right now, that pavement is off the charts. I don't know, what are we paying them for per mile now?
On the last SB1 project that we're wrapping up, it also depends on the amount of tons you're doing. We were looking at an average of $80 a ton for AC. So it wasn't that bad, but the economy of scale. The size of this project, the amount of miles we do per phase should be in favor. We should see it on the lower side. If we do lower tonnage, then the price goes up 120, close to $200.
Yeah, I'm just curious. And so it's a complete tear down reconstruction.
Yes, it's using a process called full depth reconstruction with cement. So they'll grind up the existing, add cement to stabilize the base, and then you'll have a structure that's now going to perform better and won't require as much maintenance as the current section out there.
Okay. But again, I just have a concern about how we're going to deal with other projects throughout the county, not just one, and how we maintain that.
Dominic Tyberski, Public Works Department. So up until a couple of years ago, we didn't have SB1. And so, we utilized HUTA, the road fund, CMAG, various federal sources, to get all of our work done. All of that is still going to continue. So we will be allocating the SB1 funds to this project, but that's probably about 50% of the revenue that we receive. So we're still going to be, many other projects are going to be moving forward. It's just the SB1 funds are going to be allocated towards them.
And then I would guess that through the new federal infrastructure bill that there may be additional funds as well.
Absolutely. We're looking into that. I do know for certain the bridge program is going to get significant funding. So there may be opportunities there. I would anticipate other federal funds or federal programs to get additional funding as well. So this is really an opportunity for us to reconstruct this road, which is something we haven't been able to do in a very long time because of the funding. So a unique opportunity.
Great.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the concerns of my colleague, Sue Peterson. I know that that road's important to all of us. It doesn't matter whose district that road is in. We all use it. And, but as always, my commitment is we start getting in trouble fiscally or need more money for that. I get to Sacramento. We have good lobbyists. We got the Chriscom company. We can always go to work. And I think we all heard the news on the budget surplus. And, you know, we got the $2 million for the bridge for Kettleman City last year. And I think we could be successful in going back to Sacramento if need be for more funding for that highly used road. And I think our county officials, Dominic, the board, we can make one hell of an argument on the usage, wear and tear of that road and whoever uses it, between military base personnel, between the prisons, whoever, where we could go and make a legitimate case for more funding, and the board has my commitment to that. So I do understand and appreciate those concerns that were vocalized by Sue Peterson. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, just to follow up too, I mean, when you think back about just prior to SB1 and the exercise that we went through with that, I believe Kevin came up and gave us a report, and we had a $41 million deficit in road condition upgrades, and clearly this last go around was gave us a big shot in the arm with respect to funding and getting a bunch of roads improved. But just looking back at the hole in the budget, so to speak, of where we were and how we get to improving roads in the county, and just a couple questions. So
Good, thank you. Additional questions, comments?
If there's no question or comments, I'll move approval as presented.
Second. Moved by Verboen, seconded by Fagundes. Additional questions or comments? Hearing or seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboen.
Yes.
Craig Peterson.
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes. For the record show, that item stands approved, 5 in favor. Now let's move to DKJ Architects.
Yes, the last item I have before your board this morning is another request for approval of a consultant service agreement and authorizing the Public Works Director to sign the agreement. This agreement is with DKJ Architects, and it's in order to perform the design services for a partial remodel on the Kings County Fire Station number 5. County staff has worked with the fire department to procure DKJ Architects through the RFP process to provide the partial remodel for the fire station. The agreement is negotiated not to exceed $112,500 for the preparation of plans, specifications, and estimates. This remodel will serve the purpose of remodeling station number 5 and some staff that's currently at fire station number 4 that will be relocated, and the funding for the project was obtained through the high-speed rail negotiations due to the result for needing to relocate the fire station number 4. So we would request that your board consider the approval of the agreement and authorize the Public Works Director to sign in order to start the design process on this remodel.
Good, thank you. Questions or comments?
second.
By Fagundes, second by Peterson. Discussion, any other discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboen.
Yes.
Craig Peterson.
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes. Let the record show that item stands approved, and you got the trifecta, man. You get all 3.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. Next item comes from administration regarding the Mojave Water Agency agreement. So Ed, would you like to take up this item?
Yeah, good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Today, we're seeking your board's approval on 2 draft contracts necessary to facilitate the water transfer for Kettleman City, securing water for the 2022 calendar year. We are also seeking authority for the county administrative officer to sign the draft contracts upon approval by their respective agencies, as long as no substantive changes are made. To help address the Kettleman City water shortfall, county leadership, the state, Tulare Lake Basin Water Storage District, Summers Engineering, and the Kettleman City Community Service District have been working diligently to identify both short-term and long-term solutions for this problem. These solutions include the acquisition of both state and federal funds to repair existing well, the drilling of a new well, and the purchase of carryover from the Mojave Water Agency. On December 21st, 2021, your board authorized the use of reserves in the Kettleman City Community Service District Water Treatment Plan account for the use of these purposes identified to purchase these carryover waters. As previously stated, Summer Engineering has been working to identify and acquire funds to support this process. They're most recently awarded $2.1 million for the rehabilitation of the existing well plus construction of a new well. And they're also in the process of completing grant programs with the USDA for additional well improvements and funds to repay the earlier mentioned trust. Most recently, they were notified by DWR on December 17th, 2021, by a letter of commitment that they are approved for the amount not to exceed $165,200 for the purchase of 118 acre feet of water for the storage of the primary water source of residential water supply. So the final step in this transfer agreement is the execution of a contract with both Mojave Water Agency and DWR. Both agencies have submitted draft versions of their contract just because of the way the process works. In order for the MWA agreement to become final, their board must approve the transfer agreement. Their next regularly scheduled board meeting is this Thursday, January 13th, 2022. And upon approval of this agreement and signature by the county, DWR will finalize their agreement for their signature likely that same day. Due to the urgency surrounding this need, it's recommended that your board authorize the county administrative officer to sign each agreement upon finalization. Doing so will allow for a nearly immediate transfer of water to the Kettleman City Community Service District. County Council has reviewed the agreements as to form, and this concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Questions or comments? Questions, comments? I'll move to approval. Moved by Fagundes.
I'll second with a comment. I mean, here we are in the richest, most luxurious agricultural region in the world, and we're having to buy water from the desert. I'll make a second on that, but that just shows how messed up our government agencies are when the desert has all the water and we need to keep our people alive. So,
Well, we have water. We're just dumping it in the ocean.
Yeah, different priority. Yeah. Additional questions or comments? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Nevs,
Yeah.
Richard Valley,
Aye.
Deborah Boone,
yes.
Craig Peterson,
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes. Let the record show that item stands approved, 5 in favor. Thank you very much. Moving on to the next item comes from Public Health with 2 items. First item is to approve the amendment for the professional services agreement. Darcy, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Darcy Pickens, Public Health. I come before your board this morning to request approval of an amendment to the contract with AMLLC. AMLLC has provided COVID research and communications material to the health department under the original contract term, which was July through December of 2021. During that time, AMLLC has worked with local providers, to determine COVID communication gaps and structure a communications plan for the next several months, including social media and print material development. The department seeks to amend the original contract with AMLLC to continue these services for the term of January 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2022, increasing the contract amount by $45,000 for this new term and revising the scope of work to reflect the updated needs and priorities as they relate to COVID vaccine communication. The funding increase is covered under the Kaiser grant previously approved by your board and included in the department's 21-22 budget. With that, I request your approval of Amendment 1 to the Professional Services Agreement with AMLLC for continued communications assistance, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Thank you. Questions, comments, or concerns?
If there's none, move for adoption.
Moved by Peterson,
Second.
seconded by Verboen. Additional discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley,
Aye.
Deborah Boone,
Yes.
Craig Peterson,
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes. Let the record show that item stands approved, 5 in favor. Darcy, would you like to continue and give the update on the local emergency in Kings County?
Thank you so much. Well, we continued to see a rise in cases this week, as was expected based on what we've been seeing across the state. Last week, we had 1,477 new cases. That's an average of 211 cases per day compared to 89 per day the week prior, with the sharpest increase over this past weekend. Again, this is likely due in part to continued cases and exposures from holiday gatherings, as well as the rapid transmission of both Delta and Omicron. Most age groups have experienced a steady decline in cases over the past month, with the exception of the 20 to 49-year-old age group, which continues to see an increase in case numbers. We are also seeing an uptick among 16 to 19-year-olds at this point, but that's very early on. These trends, of course, may change in the coming weeks as cases are expected to increase. Omicron cases are increasing, but Delta remains the dominant variant locally from what we can tell at this point. I do just want to point out that data on Omicron are likely behind and higher than is currently being reported because the entire state is lagging on test processing, and with that comes a lag in sequencing for variants. So we can assume the number is higher than we actually have record of at this point. As of January 10th, the local hospital had 32 patients in med-surg and 4 in the ICU. Of those admitted, 23 are Kings County residents. This is double the number of patients I reported last week. We have seen an increase in hospitalizations locally over the past 7 days after what was a fairly steady, albeit slow, decline in hospitalizations in the weeks prior. As previously reported, the same increases are being seen statewide, and regionally, hospitals with bed expansion projects have seen a fairly steep increase, even more so than we have seen here locally. Although Omicron does not appear to be any more virulent than Delta, the sheer number of cases is what appears to be driving this increase. Unvaccinated patients continue to make up the majority of hospitalized patients, still at 86% since the start of the surge. The resource request submitted by the local hospital for additional personnel was denied by the state. Because healthcare personnel are in such high demand, the state is requiring that hospitals are very specific with the description of their needs and capacity, as well as how the resources being requested will impact ongoing care. So the correspondence from the state did invite for resubmission with a request for further detail to be provided, and we'll work with the hospital on that resubmittal as needed. I'm sure many of you have heard that nationally we are seeing a severe blood shortage. This has been a problem throughout the pandemic, but it has reached critical levels. According to the Red Cross, the worst shortage in over a decade. Blood centers across the US have reported less than a one-day supply of some blood types. So I just wanted to take a moment to encourage all who are able to reach out to your local blood center. You can go to donateblood.org and encourage donation for those that are able to. Our PPE status has not changed. We are still maintaining a 60-day supply of PPE for our healthcare facilities. For testing, first I'd like to just address a few rumors on testing kit shortages. We did experience a delay in our testing kit shipment last week, but had enough on hand to get us through until the shipment arrived. At no point did public health run out of tests. One day last week, a nearby clinic did apparently run out of rapid antigen tests, which was shared by someone in our testing line. And as rumors go, that quickly turned into public health being out of tests. As soon as we got word of that, we corrected it and had people coming back to the site. Yesterday, January 10th, the color testing registration system crashed, on both the front and back end due to unprecedented testing volume across the state. And when actually processing tests for shipment became a concern because we were having to do everything by paper, but to get them shipped, we have to enter all of that information into the system. We switched to providing only at-home antigen test kits and asked that people return today to receive PCR. The system is back up and running as of this morning. Changed while I've been sitting here. It's been in flux, but it appears to be back up. KCDPH did receive a shipment of at-home test kits. These are being distributed to everyone who tests via PCR at our Hanford clinic and our mobile sites this week, as long as supplies last. We do expect them to go quickly. We are also providing at-home test kits to positive cases, so their household contacts have testing capability during quarantine and can isolate as needed. Test kits are in very short supply, and it's unclear whether or when we will receive any additional kits, so I will keep you posted on that. The Kings County Office of Education is also expected to hand out approximately 29,000 kits to school-aged children. Those are in addition to the kits being provided to the public by Public Health. Last week, Public Health collected 3,876 COVID tests. This surpasses the highest weekly number we've seen to date by over 1,000 tests, which gives you an idea of the influx we're seeing. Demand for COVID testing is higher than it's ever been. Laboratories are experiencing an unprecedented surge in demand as well. The Valencia branch lab reports that it is returning 70% of test results within 48 hours and 99% within 72 hours. However, keep in mind, this is from the time the lab receives the test. So for people testing, turnaround time is closer to 4 days in many cases, and longer for some. We do ship daily down to the lab with the exception of Sundays when the courier service is not available. So those tests go out on Monday. Last week, January 3rd through the 9th, Public Health administered 876 vaccines, an increase from the previous 5 weeks. And just these past few days, we have seen a marked increase in demand for first and second doses, in addition to the boosters that have constituted the bulk of vaccinations for some time now. As of today, we have 9,338 partially vaccinated residents and 64,069 fully vaccinated residents, which is 49% of the eligible population, not including prisoners. Our current breakthrough rate is now at 3%, still indicating the vaccine is effective. A few additional updates for you. On January 5th, CDPH extended the universal indoor masking requirement for public spaces, regardless of vaccination status, through February 15th in light of the current surge. Surgical grade masks or respirators are recommended. Governor Newsom's 2022-23 budget proposal included $2.7 billion, to ramp up vaccines, statewide testing, and increased medical personnel for COVID-19 response. This includes $1.4 billion to continue COVID-19 efforts in this fiscal year, in addition to $1.3 billion in the next fiscal year. Also included is $300 million ongoing general fund dollars for investments in public health infrastructure. Under the proposal, local health jurisdictions are to receive a minimum base allocation of $350,000 with additional funds based on population, the race ethnicity index, and poverty index. This local funding is expected to broadly support the strengthening of health department staffing and priority areas identified during the pandemic, standardize the collection and integration of data, and expand local partnerships with healthcare delivery systems and community-based organizations, the aim of driving systems change. There were, of course, additional allocations for wildfire response, reproductive health services, homelessness, climate change, a community health worker program, and various aspects of the healthcare expansion, including Medi-Cal and CalAIM initiatives. There's quite a bit in there. I'm sure you've had a chance to look at that. We are again at a point in the pandemic where statewide hospital census is over capacity, and the surge in cases and hospitalizations is impacting California's healthcare delivery system within many regions of the state, including our own. Staffing levels are also increasingly impacted by COVID-19 transmission in many critical sectors such as schools, daycare services, public safety, and transportation, just to name a few. As I mentioned last week, I remain cautiously optimistic, very cautiously optimistic, that we may be seeing the final surge of the COVID-19 pandemic. Not that COVID will go away, but just that we have hope of it becoming an illness that does not overwhelm our hospitals and critical sectors. But we're not there yet. People are once again struggling to balance maintaining a steady income and the ability to care for their children, with schools, employers, and care providers at constant risk of closing, and people are still losing loved ones to this disease. We have the tools we need to end the pandemic between vaccination and other mitigation strategies. And the health department remains dedicated to ensuring the necessary services and information continue to be available during this time. This concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Darcy. Questions or comments for Darcy?
Questions, Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Valley.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, Darcy. Thank you for the information. Continue good job to you and your staff. Appreciate all of you. The information on the test kits again, is that starting today? That at the mobile units, I think you said if you go and you take a PCR test, you could leave with a couple of home test kits.
Yes, we actually started on Friday because we had the mobile unit out in Home Garden on Friday. So we started giving them out then, and then at our Hanford site yesterday. Today we begin with the mobile units. Yes, so they'll continue to be available in Hanford at the health department clinic, the health department testing site, and then also at our mobile site, which today is in Avenel.
Got it. Thank you. Did we get a press release out on that, or do you have enough left to warrant a press release out there to let the folks know about that? We know those are hard to come by right now.
They are hard to come by. We have not done a press release. There were numerous reasons for that. We certainly can. At this point, it looks like we will have enough to at least get us through the week. Again, I'm saying that with cautious optimism. Demand fluctuates. We'll see one day where we have very few people interested, and then the next, they're again in very high demand. So it's difficult to predict how long they'll be available. And like so many other sectors, the health department is facing some staffing shortages at this point. So we do have to be mindful of what our capacity is to get these out on a daily basis.
No, thank you. And on the subject of home test kits, has there been any word from the Board of Education? The report I got this morning was that as of 5 o'clock yesterday, the state has not sent down those 28,000 home test kits for our students around the county. Are you in the loop on that, or is anybody, have we been asked to help track down that shipment?
So we continue to get the same answer from the state, which is that they're on their way. That's about all we've been able to find out. We do continue to ask and attempt to track that shipment as best we can, but it's really difficult to get any type of detail. There's been a lot of variation throughout the state on when those kits come in. So we've offered our assistance to the County Office of Education. They know that we are ready and standing by to help get those out as soon as they come in.
Oh, okay. And then lastly, I'll just say that on the subject of home test kits, I guess if people test at home and they become positive, is there a way to notify you to get that officially on the record? Is a case with the county?
So the test kits that have been, thank you, Supervisor. The test kits that have been provided by the state do come with directions to report through an app. These particular tests that we have in hand at the moment, and that may change, but the ones we have now, there's an app called iHealth, and people are encouraged to report their results through that system. And then go online, kcdph.com. We have our isolation and quarantine guidelines posted to follow those. We are continuing to follow up with all of the positive cases that we are notified of at this point. However, it's unclear if all of those at-home test kits that are reported are getting sent to us. That's the idea with reporting through the app. So we're trying to kind of decipher that as we go, because this is a very new system for us.
Yeah, no, thank you. As I mentioned on Thursday, when I tested positive, it was with a test kit. And I know that my data doesn't trickle down to you at the county on there. And so I imagine when you multiply that around the county, that's a lot of missing cases, as you pointed out. And so my fault on that. And I just want to close with my message by saying I do agree personally that the vaccine works. I felt mine working overtime, my vaccine and my booster. And from being on day 7, I can tell you that if I didn't have at least the vaccine in me, I could tell I would have been a candidate to be in trouble, because I've went through everything from the coughing to the shortness of breath to losing my taste and smell. So my message is that even vaccinated and boosted, I got boosted probably about a month ago, about a week before Christmas, that even if you're vaccinated and boosted, it's not a fun ride here. And so I'm hopeful that today I do a home test kit so I can get out of my bedroom. I've been in my bedroom all day. Lucky I have a shower in the bathroom in this bedroom, but I know it's no fun, but I do consider myself still a mild case, and I feel bad for the people who had it worse, and who had it the worst of the worst and ultimately passed from it. But I appreciate the support of the people who've reached out to check on me, and I'm all right, and I look forward to be back next week, and I look forward to being outside of this house today, hopefully, but I will test before I do that so I can get back to some outside responsibility. So thank you all at the Public Health. And last Tuesday when I came to the board, I did not have any symptoms. But I do know I had to be infected before I came to the board meeting. So again, my apologies to my fellow board members and staff. But that's the way this pandemic has been. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Darcy. Good work.
Thank you, Supervisor. I hope you feel better soon.
Thank you.
Additional questions or comments for Darcy? Mr. Hill, you have a staff update?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As has been customary, update on staff since the outbreak the new surge has started to occur. We have 218 cases so far. We are seeing a slight increase as can be expected with the Omicron variant, with approximately 50 individuals teleworking or quarantining.
Good, thank you. And the only information I'd like to add is that the Red Cross isn't a blood collector in this region. The Central California Blood Center is the input and distributor of those important blood attributes. And they have a wonderful promotion going on now, coinciding with the Harry Potter series. They have a Harry Potter shirt and lanyards. So if you have not donated blood, or if you're ready to donate blood, they have some really neat stuff besides all the sweets. A lot of sweets.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you can roll up your sleeve and head over to the Visalia, or they have several other blood centers in the valley.
They do. They're all listed online, donateblood.org.
Yeah, very good. With that, any other questions on COVID? Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
With that has concluded all of the action of today's agenda. We'll now move to board member announcements or reports on their own initiative. Board members can make reports on their own activities. Supervisor Fagundes.
Nothing to just done.
Good. Supervisor Boone.
Just finishing up all the end of the year stuff with all the projects I got going on. It takes a lot of homework, a lot of desk work at this time. I had celebrated 37 years of marriage with my wife. So that's where the white hair came from. And it was a big feat that we accomplished, 37 years. So that's a big deal. And had a San Joaquin Valley Water Infrastructure Authority meeting. No, I had a Water Infrastructure Authority meeting. Today we're going to have another meeting next week. Also, we had a San Joaquin Valley JPA, the rail Amtrak meeting. Today we're going to have another meeting next week too. So, about it. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Supervisor Peterson.
I have nothing. Thank you.
You're good. Supervisor Valley.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to use the time just to request maybe in the next week or two, if the board could get an update on the status of a very important project we used to have in the county, the Safe Kids Coalition. As you know, Mr. Chair, it's the only event in Kings County that teaches our kids how to be safe in an emergency. That project also, I believe, is held at West Hills College More importantly, it goes to every community in our county, and they provide car seats, free car seats to people, free car seat installation. And so very important program. I don't know if it was there's a funding issue with that on why we haven't had that, but I think it's worthy of the board's time if someone could update us and let us know how we could, if needed, work to bring that back there. And lastly, Mr. Chair, I just want to give a shout out to my son, Kobe Valley. Today's his 20th birthday. He's no stranger to the board. Spent a lot of summers there with me as a child, and many of our youth and government events. He's a sophomore at Fresno State University. He's on their newly formed Fresno State esports team, which involves gaming. And he's home right now still for his Christmas break. Matter of fact, the university has pushed back the physical return of the students. He can't get back to his dorm. Now they pushed it back to start of school to January 31st, but he's here. I haven't seen him much in a week, except peeking out the window. He doesn't let me leave the room. He's super sensitive on this issue. Obviously, he didn't want to get sick, but he's out there, and I hope today I can test out of here and go spend some time with him for his 20th birthday. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And then for me, special meeting was held last week for the Kings County Association of Governments in order to find the findings for the teleconferencing by way of AB 361. As we discussed earlier in the agenda, that bill has several problematic items with it, and one of them is that it has to be adopted every 30 days. All of the COVID protocols have been in place at West Hills and had to suspend 5 games this past week. They'll be back in action on Wednesday tomorrow, traveling to Porterville. And then hopefully we'll have a home game on Friday. Thanks to staff who worked on the electric vehicle charging stations. There was a report out yesterday. Avenel will receive a charging station at the City Hall, parking lots on King, Rice Park, and Veterans Hall. Also, the Eagle Feather post on 33 and 41 will be getting that, as well as they reported on the Tesla charging station in Kettleman City. And then they'll add one more in Hanford at the Renew Age in Energy Solutions here in Hanford. So great job to staff. Thank them for doing that. And I think the inventory of those charging stations are pretty well moving right along for everybody that has an electric vehicle. And also, granddaughter has been selected one of the 75 FFA students that will be participating in the Sacramento Leadership Experience. Riley's currently the LeGrand FFA president. So she will be exposed to the agricultural policies and advocacy at the state level as they are. And the conference is planned for the last week in March. So hopefully they'll be able to accomplish that and get that done. With that, Mr. Hill, would you like to talk about board correspondence, upcoming events, and information on any future agenda items?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. For board correspondence, we received the December 2021 transaction activity report from the Department of Finance Investment Pool. For upcoming events, the Kings River Hardwick School District regular meeting is scheduled for 6 p.m. tonight in the board conference room located at 10300 Excelsior Avenue in Hanford. Learn for Life Education Job Fair is scheduled for January 12th, 2022 from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at 312 West 7th Street in Hanford. Interviews will be held and contingent job offers will be made on site. Hanford Chamber of Commerce Blood Drive is scheduled for January 27th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the chamber located at 113 Court Street. And then the Guns versus Hoses flag football game is scheduled to take place on January 16th, where the Kings County Deputy Sheriff's Associations will face off with the Kings County Firefighter Association. Admission is free to the public. The contest will be held at the Neighbor Bowl located at 120 East Grangeville in Hanford. For upcoming board agenda items, the board is dark on January 18th. For January 25th, admin has approval for an updated capital project plan. Behavioral Health has an agreement with Upholdings, North Star, and Up North Star for development of the Kings County No Place Like Home project. Public Health, of course, has the COVID-19 update and amendment to the housing opportunities. I'm sorry, we just did that one. Need to talk to the person who typed this. Human Services Agency has agreement with Champions Recover Alternative Program for parenting education services in consideration for an account auditor position. And Information Technology has consideration for the purchase of an update to the email system and cloud security. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank JTO for lending staff to help us with our transition as we work through some vacancy in the admin office. And that concludes board correspondence, upcoming events, and board agenda items.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Any questions or comments for Mr. Hill? Hearing none, the board will be moving into closed session to take up two items. One, litigation initially formulated for Leprino versus Kings County, and conference with labor negotiator, meet and confer. As been pointed out, we will not have a meeting on January 18th due to Martin Luther King birthday. And so our next regular scheduled meeting will be January 25th at 9 a.m. With that, I want to acknowledge and thank Clayton Smith. Thank you for being here. Very much appreciated. Also the reporter for the Hanford Sentinel. Thank you. Glad you're still on the beat and out healthy and safe. And Katie, thank you for joining Dr. Lewis and being here for behavioral health and everyone else. So with that, thank you very much, everyone. The board will be, and the share. Oh yeah. I forgot about the two guys in the back. And one thing about it, the fire department will have oxygen available at the flag football game. But law enforcement will show up with guns. So, before you, just be careful who you intercept on that pass play. So with that, thank you very much, Sheriff Robinson. Thank you, Josh, for being here. Be safe out there. Stay healthy. We'll see you next time.